the deadlock, the frustration, the subtle quiet sound of a team disengaging. We've all been there. We've seen the lack of participation in the meetings. But what if I told you the single skill that could transform those moments isn't more data, or more authority, or even more pressure? What if it was simply better understanding? And we're going to dive into that on this episode of Engage and Inspire. Welcome back to Engage and Inspire, the show that takes leadership advice out of the boring, dusty textbook and puts it right in the messy, hilarious, coffee-stained playbook of real life. I am your host, Scott Liles, and I actually have my playbook right here in my hands, and I'm going to read from it, and we are going to discover some stats that are absolutely amazing. I'm very excited about these, and I have actually put some of these into work myself, and I have actually also developed a similar type of these same studies and put them into play as well, and they work. So last episode, we laid the foundation with the letter H, and H was for humility. That was about you. It was about quieting your own inner expert and making space for others. It was the leadership equivalent to hitting the mute button on your own microphone. It was crucial. But a silent room is not a productive room. Someone has to turn on the mic and start asking the right questions. Well, that's what this episode is about. We're moving into the second letter of HELM, which is E, and E is for empathy. Now, I see that word and I can practically hear the mental eye roll from half of you listening. Empathy, Scott. I run a P&L. I manage a warehouse. I lead a development team that ships code, not feelings. I get it. In a world of hard results, empathy can sound like a detour, like stopping to smell the roses when you're already late for the board meeting. It can feel like you're being asked to add office psychic to your already long job description. But don't worry, I'm not asking you to sit down in front of a crystal ball and try to predict the future. I'm just asking you to understand the present a little bit better. So let me reframe it for you. Think of your team not as a machine you operate, but as a complex organic system you're trying to navigate. Okay? Humility was you admitting you don't have the map for this system. Empathy is how you build the map. It's not the detour. It's the fundamental act of gathering the intelligence you need to lead effectively. It's gathering data on the human terrain, the motivations, the fears, the unseen obstacles, so you can chart the most effective course. Ignoring this data isn't being tough. It's being willfully blind. It's like trying to troubleshoot a network with the empathy of dial-up modems. The connection is just too slow to download what you really need. And if you've never heard a dial-up modem, please Google it. That's music to my ears. So let's get into the why with some data that connects directly to the bottom line. First, a landmark study from the Center for Creative Leadership. They found that empathy isn't just linked to performance. It's a direct, measurable driver of it. Leaders rated as empathetic by their peers and direct reports were consistently rated as more effective at their jobs by their own supervisors. Why? Because they had access to a complete information loop. They understood not just the what of the problem, but the why and the who behind it, allowing for more precise and sustainable solutions. But here's the stat that should make every operations and finance leader really lean in here. Research published in the Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology followed hundreds of teams over 2 years. They found that teams with highly empathetic leaders showed a 31% reduction in costly, unplanned turnover. Now, in today's economy, where replacing a skilled employee can cost you 1.5 to 2 times their annual salary, that's not a soft metric. That's a staggering hard dollar ROI. You're not just being nice, you're protecting a massive capital investment. And what is that investment? That's your people. Think of it as the leadership equivalent of a really good extended warranty. And finally, for the innovators and growth seers, this is something that I've done. This next stat is amazing, and I've actually developed my own version of this and seen the same results. Data from Forrester Consulting shows that customer-facing teams led with empathy, get ready? Hold on to your seats. Customer-facing teams led with empathy see a 20% increase in customer satisfaction and a 15% increase in revenue growth. There it is, black and white. Your CSAT scores increase, your turnover decreases, and your revenue increases. Why is that? Because empathy is contagious. A leader who models understanding creates a team culture of deeper client insight, which directly translates to better solutions and stronger loyalty. Ta-da! The case is airtight. Empathy is a performance engine, it's a retention shield, and a growth catalyst. So, how does a pragmatic leader actually operationalize this? It's about moving from the vague idea of understanding to the specific, repeatable techniques. So, let's go deeper into those life hacks. Life hack number 1, the 2-minute mind meld. This is about active, targeted curiosity. The goal isn't just to hear a reason, but to understand the context. So when a direct report says a deadline is at risk, the amateur leaders ask, why? The strategic leaders ask for a brief narrative. So your direct report says, hey, I'm going to miss the deadline, or we're really going to be close to missing it. Your job is to say, okay, pull me into your world for a second. Walk me through your last 48 hours on this. What did you expect to accomplish? And what actually showed up on your plate that you didn't see coming? The psychology here, this question does 3 powerful things. First, it's disarming. It frames you as an ally, not as an interrogator. Second, it bypasses the defensive. Second, it bypasses the defensive, simplified answer of, I'm busy, and prompts a story which contains richer data about process breakdowns, conflicting priorities, or even resource gaps. Third, and most importantly, it makes the person feel seen. You're acknowledging the complexity of their reality. The insight you gain isn't just a fact, it's a shared understanding that builds immense trust and paves the way for collaborative problem solving. It's like finding out that the report is late not because of laziness, but because accounting's software update has the consistency of a bowl of oatmeal. Now you can fix the system and not blame the person. Life hack number 2, the compliment sandwich. The old model was praise, critique, praise, which often feels a little manipulative and leaves the core critique rattling around in someone's head for a while. The remix here is about leading with shared context. So, something like, I want to start by acknowledging the insane pressure that you've been under with the system migration. I see how many plates you're spinning, and given that context, I've got some thoughts on a client report that I think will help us both make sure it lands with the impact that your work deserves. Can we walk through it? The psychology here isn't sugarcoating, it's framing. You're explicitly connecting your feedback to the shared mission and your awareness of their current stressed state. You're demonstrating that you see the whole person, not just the single output that you're critiquing. This transforms the interaction from a top-down correction to a side-by-side collaboration, meaning we're adjusting the course together. It preserves dignity, maintains motivation, and makes your feedback infinitely more likely to be received and acted upon. It's the difference between yelling, "You missed the exit!" and calmly saying, "Hey, I think we both got a little distracted by that crazy billboard back there. Let's find the next turnaround." Life hack number 3, become a mood detective. Digital communication is empathy's greatest nemesis. We're all walking around with a pocket-sized misunderstanding machine every single day. Being a mood detective is the act of adding emotional context to the context lists. So the practice here is, before replying to any text-based message, whether that's a text message, an email, a Teams message, anything that has even a hint of curtness or ambiguity or frustration, pause, stop for a second, take a deep breath, ask yourself, what is the most generous interpretation of this message? And then write to that interpretation. For example, you ask one of your direct reports to have a look at something. So you follow up with them. Hey, how are things going on that report? And you get a message or an email back that says, haven't had time to look at it yet. Your knee-jerk interpretation is, oh, they're blowing me off. The generous interpretation here is, okay, they're overwhelmed, possibly even embarrassed because we're getting close to missing a deadline and they haven't had a chance to dive into it yet. The empathetic reply here would be, hey, no problem at all. I know your week got hijacked by the audit. Whenever you get a chance to glance at it, just let me know if you see any major red flags. No deep dive needed. The psychology here is that this practice short circuits the negative feedback loop of digital miscommunication. So by choosing the generous interpretation, you responded to the human need rather than the perceived attitude. The Grammarly study finding that considerate emails get faster replies proves this. You're reducing the emotional transaction cost of that interaction. You're making it safe and easy for the other person to engage. And this actually speeds up work and builds a reservoir of goodwill. You're basically installing emotional traffic cones to prevent a pileup in your inbox. So let's bring it all home. The E in Helm is empathy as a core leadership discipline. If humility is about opening the data port, empathy is the protocol you use to download the complete, unfiltered data set on your team's reliability. It's how you move from managing outputs to leading with a dynamic human system. Without this discipline, you are perpetually surprised by burnout, resistance, and missed signals. With it, you gain foresight, you build unwavering loyalty, and you create an environment where people don't just work. They problem solve, they innovate, and they commit. You go from being the boss everyone has meetings about to the leader they have meetings with. Your challenge this week is to go beyond the surface. Don't just try a hack, study it. Pick one of these techniques, the Mind Meld, the feedback remix, or the mood detective. Use it intentionally in at least 2 different situations. Afterwards, take a couple minutes to reflect. What did I get that I would have missed otherwise? How did it change the interaction? This is the practice. Leadership isn't just a trait. It's a set of skills, and empathy might be the most powerful in the box. I'm your partner in this. I want to hear about your reconnaissance. What hidden landscapes did your new map reveal? Share your insights. Reach out to us on TikTok. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Send me an email at scott@leadwithhelm.com. I want to hear your successes. Now, on our next episode, we lock into the letter L, and that is for loyalty. We move past the posters and the pizza and uncover the specific, sometimes difficult actions that forge unbreakable bonds within a team. We'll find out why loyalty is a lot less about being the cheese on the pizza and more about the people you share it with. Now let's lead with intention. Listen to understand. Be empathetic. Until next time, remember, keep engaging, keep inspiring. Take care.